Hey guys, welcome back to 365 Days of the Bible. We are on day 98, and we're going to be reading from the book of 1 Samuel, chapters 4 through 8. 1 Samuel chapter 4, and it says, And the word of the Lord through Samuel came to all of Israel. Now Israel went out to meet the Philistines in battle, and they camped beside Ebenezer, while the Philistines camped at Aphek. The Philistines assembled in battle formation to meet Israel. And when the battle was over, Israel was defeated by the Philistines, who killed about 4,000 men on the battlefield. And when the people, the soldiers, came into the camp, the elders of Israel said, Why has the Lord defeated us today before the Philistines? Let us bring the ark of the covenant of the Lord here from Shiloh, so that he may come along among us and save us from the hand of our enemies. So the people sent word to Shiloh, and from there they carried the ark of the covenant of the Lord of hosts, who sits above the cherubim, and the two sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, were with the ark of the covenant of God. So it happened that as the ark of the covenant of the Lord came into the camp, all the people of Israel shouted with a great shout, and the earth resounded. And when the Philistines heard the noise of the shout, they said, What does the noise of this great shout in the camp of the Hebrews mean? Then they understood that the ark of the Lord had come into the camp. The Philistines were afraid, for they said, God has come into the camp. And they said, Woe, that is, disaster is coming to us. For nothing like this has ever happened before. Woe to us! Who will rescue us from the hand of these mighty gods? These are the gods who struck the Egyptians with all kinds of plagues in the wilderness. Take courage and be men, O Philistines, so that you do not become servants of the Hebrews, as they have been servants to you. Act like men and fight. So the Philistines fought Israel. And Israel was defeated, and every man fled to his tent. It was a very great defeat, for 30,000 foot soldiers of Israel fell. Also the ark of God was taken, and the two sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, were killed. Now a man from the tribe of Benjamin ran from the battle line and came to Shiloh that same day, with his clothes torn and dust on his head, as signs of mourning over the disaster. And when he arrived, Eli was sitting on his seat by the road, keeping watch, because his heart was anxious about the ark of God. And when the man arrived to report the news in the city, everyone in the city cried out to God for help. And when Eli heard the noise of the outcry, he asked, What is the noise of this uproar? And the man came hurriedly and told Eli. Now Eli was 98 years old. His eyes were dim, so that he could not see. The man said to Eli, I have come from the battle line. Indeed, I escaped from the battle line today. And Eli said, How did things go, my son? The messenger replied, Israel has fled before the Philistines, and there has also been a great slaughter among the people. Also your two sons, Hophni and Phinehas, are dead, and the ark of God has been taken. And when he mentioned the ark of God, Eli fell off the seat backwards by the side of the city gate. His neck was broken, and he died, for he was old and heavy, and he had judged Israel for 40 years. Now his daughter-in-law, Phinehas' wife, was pregnant, and was about to give birth. So when she heard the news that the ark of God had been taken, and that her father-in-law and her husband had died, she kneeled down and gave birth, because her labor pains began. And about the time of her death, following the sudden birth, the woman attending her said to her, Do not be afraid, for you have given birth to a son. But she did not answer or pay any attention. And she named the boy Ichabod, saying, The glory has left Israel, because the ark of God has been taken, and because of the deaths of her father-in-law and her son. She said, The glory has left Israel, for the ark of God has been taken. Chapter 5. Then the Philistines took the ark of God, and they brought it from Ebenezer to Ashdod. And they took the ark of God, and they brought it into the house of Dagon, and set it beside the image of Dagon, their chief idol. And when the people of Ashdod got up early the next day, behold, Dagon had fallen on his face on the ground before the ark of the Lord. So they took Dagon and returned him to his place. But when they got up early the next morning, behold, Dagon had again fallen on his face on the ground before the ark of the Lord, and his head and both palms of his hands were laying cut off on the threshold. Only the trunk portion of the idol of Dagon was left on him. This is the reason neither priest of Dagon nor any who enter Dagon's house step on the threshold of Dagon in Ashdod to this day. Then the hand of the Lord was heavy on the people of Ashdod, and he cursed them to be dumbfounded and struck them with tumors, both Ashdod and its territory. And when the men of Ashdod saw what had happened, they said, "The ark of God of Israel must not remain with us, for his hand is heavy on us and on Dagon our God." So they sent word, and they gathered all the lords, the governors of the Philistines, to them, and said, "What shall we do with the ark of the God of Israel?" And they answered, "Let the ark of God of Israel be brought around to Gath." So they took the ark of the God of Israel there. But it happened that after they had taken it to Gath, the hand of the Lord was against the city, causing an extremely great panic because of the deaths of the plagues. For he has struck the people of the city, both young and old, and tumors broke out on them. So they sent the ark of God to Ekron. And the ark of God came to Ekron, and the Ekronites cried out, "They have brought the ark of God of Israel from Gath to us to kill us and our people." So they sent word and gathered all the lords of the Philistines and said, "Send away the ark of the God of Israel. Let it be returned to its own place, so that it will not kill us and our people." For there was a deadly panic throughout the city. The hand of God was very heavy there. And the men who had not died were stricken with tumors. And the cry of the city for help went up to heaven. Chapter 6. Now the ark of the Lord had been in the country of the Philistines for 7 months. And the Philistines called for the priest and the diviners, saying, "What shall we do with the ark of the Lord? Let us know how we can send it back to its place." And they said, "If you send away the ark of God of Israel, do not send it empty without a gift, but be sure to return it to him together with a guilt offering. Then you will be healed, and it will be known to you why his hand is not removed from you." Then they said, "What shall the guilt offering be, which we shall return to him?" And they answered, 5 golden tumors and 5 golden mice, according to the number of the Lord of the Philistines. For 1 plague was on all of you and on your lords. So you shall make replicas of your tumors and of your mice that ravage the land, and give glory to God of Israel. Perhaps he will lighten his hand of judgment on you and your gods and your land. Why then do you harden your hearts, allowing pride to cause you a downfall, just as the Egyptians and Pharaoh hardened their hearts, when he had severely dealt with them and mocked them? Did they not allow the people of Israel to go? And they departed. Now then, make a new cart and prepare 2 milk cows on which a yoke has never been placed, and hitch the cows to the cart, and take their calves back home away from them. Then take the ark of the Lord and put it on the cart, and put the articles of gold which you are returning to him as a guilt offering in a box beside it. Then send it away without a driver. But watch, if it goes up by the way of its own territory to Bethshemesh, then you will know that he has done us this great evil. But if not, then we will know that it was not the hand that struck us. This disaster happened to us by chance." And the men did so. And they took 2 milk cows, and they hitched them to the cart, and corralled their calves at home. They put the ark of the Lord in the cart, and the box containing the golden mice and the replicas of the tumors, and the cows went straight toward Beth Shemesh along the highway, lowing as they went, and did not turn away to the right or to the left. And the Philistine lords, the governors, followed them to the border of Beth Shemesh. Now the men of Beth Shemesh were gathering their wheat harvest in the valley, and they looked up and saw the ark and rejoiced to see it. The cart came into the field of Joshua of Beth Shemesh and stopped there. A large stone was there, and the men split up the wood of the cart for firewood, and offered the cows as a burnt offering to the Lord. The Levites had taken down the ark of the Lord and the box beside it, in which there was the articles of gold, and put them on the large stone. And the men of Beth Shemesh offered the burnt offerings and made sacrifices that day to the Lord. And when the 5 lords of the Philistines saw what had happened, they returned to Ekron that day. These are the golden tumors which the Philistines returned as a guilt offering to the Lord: one of Ashdod, one of Gaza, one of Ashkelon, and one for Gath, and one for Ekron, the 5 chief cities of the Philistines. And also the golden mice, according to the number of all the cities of the Philistines, belonging to the 5 lords, both fortified cities and unwalled country villages. The large stone on which the Levites set the ark of the Lord remains a witness to this day in the field of Joshua of Beth Shemesh. The Lord struck down some of the men of Beth Shemesh because they had looked into the ark of the Lord. He struck down 50,070 men among the people, and the people mourned because the Lord had struck the people with a great slaughter. The men of Beth Shemesh said, "Who is able to stand before the Lord, this holy God, and to whom shall he go up from us?" So they sent a messenger to the residents of Kiriath Jearim, saying, "The Philistines have returned the ark of the Lord. Come down and take it up to you." Chapter 7. So the men of Kiriath Jearim came and took up the ark of the Lord and brought it into the house of Abinadab on the hill, and they consecrated Eleazar his son to care for the ark of the Lord. And from that day the ark remained in Kiriath Jearim for a very long time. For it was 20 years until the reign of King David, and all the house of Israel lamented, that is, they wailed and grieved after the Lord. Then Samuel said to the house of Israel, "If you are returning to the Lord with all your heart, remove the foreign gods and the Ashtaroth, the pagan god dresses, from among you, and direct your hearts to the Lord and serve him only, and he will rescue you from the hand of the Philistines." So the Israelites removed the Baals and the Asheroths, and they served the Lord alone. And Samuel said, "Gather all Israel together at Mizpah, and I will pray to the Lord for you." So they gathered at Mizpah, and they drew water, and they poured it out before the Lord, and they fasted on that day. And there, "We have sinned against the Lord." And Samuel judged the Israelites at Mizpah. Now, when the Philistines heard that the Israelites had gathered at Mizpah, the lords, that is, the governors of the Philistines, went up against Israel. And when the Israelites heard it, they were afraid of the Philistines. And the sons of Israel said to Samuel, "Do not cease to cry out to the Lord our God for us, so that he may save us from the hands of the Philistines." So Samuel took a nursing lamb and offered it as a whole burnt offering to the Lord. And Samuel cried out to the Lord for Israel, and the Lord answered him. As Samuel was offering up the burnt offering, the Philistines approached for the battle against Israel. Then the Lord thundered with a great voice that day against the Philistines and threw them into confusion. And they were defeated and fled before Israel. And the men of Israel came out of Mizpah, and they pursued the Philistines and struck them down as far as the territory below Bethkar. Then Samuel took a stone and set it between Mizpah and Shen, and he named it Ebenezer, the stone of help, saying, Thus far the Lord has helped us. So the Philistines were subdued, and they did not come any more into the Israelite territory. And the hand of the Lord was against the Philistines all the days of Samuel. And the cities which the Philistines had taken from Israel were restored to Israel. From Ekron to Gath to Israel recovered the cities and territories from the Philistines, and also there was peace between Israel and the Amorites. Now Samuel judged Israel all the days of his life. He used to go annually on a circuit to Bethel, Gilgal, Mizpah, and he judged Israel in all these places. Then he would return to Ramah, because his home was there. And there he judged Israel, and there he built an altar to the Lord. Chapter 8. And it came about when Samuel was old, that he appointed his sons as judges over Israel. Now the name of his firstborn was Joel, and the name of his second, Abijah. They were judging in Beersheba. His sons, however, did not walk in his ways, but turned aside after dishonest gain. They took bribes, and they perverted justice. Then all the elders of Israel gathered together and came to Samuel at Ramah. And they said to him, Look, you have grown old, and your sons do not walk in your ways. Now appoint us a king to judge us and rule over us, like all the other nations. But their demand displeased Samuel, when they said, Give us a king to judge and rule over us. So Samuel prayed to the Lord. And the Lord said to Samuel, Listen to the voice of the people in regard to all that they say to you. For they have not rejected you, but they have rejected me from being king over them, like all the deeds which they have done since the day that I brought them up from Egypt, even to this day, in that they have abandoned me and served other gods. So they are doing to you also. So now listen to their voice only, solemnly warn them, and tell them the ways of the king who will reign over them. So Samuel told them all the words of the Lord to the people who were asking him for a king. And he said, These will be the ways of the king who will reign over you. He will take your sons and appoint them for himself to his chariots and among his horsemen, and they will run before his chariots. He will appoint them for himself to be commanders over thousands and over 50s, and some to do his plowing, and to reap his harvest, and to make his implements of war and equipment for his chariots. He will take your daughters to be perfumers, cooks, and bakers. He will take the best of your fields, your vineyards, and your olive groves, and give them to his servants. He will take a tenth of your grain and of your vineyards, and give it to his officers and to his servants. He will take your male servants and your female servants, and your best young men and your donkeys, and use them for his work. He will take a tenth of your flocks, and you yourself shall be his servants. Then you will cry out on that day, because of your king whom you have chosen for yourselves, but the Lord will not answer you on that day, because you have rejected him as king. Nevertheless, the people refused to listen to the voice of Samuel, and they said, No, but there shall be a king over us, so that we too may be like all the other nations around us, that our king may judge and govern us, and go out before us and fight our battles. And Samuel had heard all the words of the people, and repeated them to the Lord. And the Lord said to Samuel, Listen to their request, and appoint a king for them. So Samuel said to the men of Israel, Go each man to his own city. God bless you guys. We'll pick back up tomorrow.